Hi, everybody. Welcome to the MenoLounge. I'm Julie Gordon-White, CEO of MenoWell, Menopause High Fiber and Protein Bars. And we got my girl on today, one of my most favorite menopause people on the planet, Denise Pines. I know she'll be here shortly. You got to catch Denise where you can catch her. Hey there, Mini Burns. How are you? So Denise, as we all know, if you have been following the M Factor film, is an award-winning entrepreneur, marketer, filmmaker, media pioneer, all of the things, and co-executive producer, along with Tamsin Fidel, our other favorite of the M Factor. Here's Denise. Are you coming up as T-Botanics, Denise? All right, let me grab you right here. Of menopause filmmaking. She's an entrepreneur as well, near and dear to my heart. These are MenoWell Bars besties. So,
hello. Hey, buddy.
Did you hear me give that whole long introduction? I just keep going and going. I didn't say that you also sit on medical boards and are immediate past president of California Medical Board. And I think some people think you're a doctor too in your spare time. I don't know.
I feel like I'm a doctor in my spare time, right?
I know. And of course, I was saying that your amazing hot flash tea and MenoWell bars, they're BFFs. So
yes,
we're going to talk about your tea too. I'm so excited. You've got some exciting things happening. But Denise, hello. Thank you for hopping on in between. How many screenings have you been to so far for M Factor 2?
Oh, it's been crazy. I think I've done 10 screenings.
Wow.
And
in person yourself, right?
In person. I had to get off the road for one. I just was like, I cannot, like literally every day I was in a different state. And I was like, I think I'm done. Like I have no more up here.
Where's your brain fog tea, right? You need
right. I need my brain fog tea. Yeah. I mean, but it's been really, really exciting. They're packed. They're coming armed with questions. It was interesting. The first time we went out, people were kind of shy. And this time, like you'll get like 30 women in the room, their hands are up, right? So just really, really exciting this go around. We are actually getting younger women who are showing up at the screenings, which is really exciting. I mean, that was the whole goal, right? Because we're focusing on perimenopause. So we are achieving that, which is exciting. We're finding that more people are becoming, I would say, comfortable about hormone replacement therapy. They may not be sort of like ready to make that decision, but they're becoming more receptive. So we're seeing those kinds of changes happen. And the only reason we know this because we do a pre and post survey. So before you watch the film, there's a pre-survey, and then afterwards, because we want to just see the impact that information will have once you have it in terms of your thinking, right?
Yeah, that's so important. Well, but Denise, going back a little bit, the first film was phenomenal. And were you prepared? I mean, how many screenings were there around the world? How many countries? Were you prepared for that?
No, I mean, we didn't even, like, that wasn't even on our radar that it was going to explode like that. I think we were stuck more with the, people watching it, on PBS and being able to see it on PBS.com and, and all the streaming things around PBS. And I don't think we thought, we knew there were going to be screenings, right? Because, this is my 14th documentary. So we knew there were going to be screenings, but we didn't know outside the country. That was really the shocker when we started getting these requests into, can we screen the film here in Barbados? Can we screen it in South Africa? Can we screen it in Australia? Can we screen it in Kuwait? And it was like, is this happening? What is going on?
Yeah.
So that ended up being 50 countries. We've had, with that first film, over 1,500 screenings. And those are the ones that we just know about, right? Those aren't the ones where people purchase.
Signed up.
Purchase a DVD and they're having things on their own. in their own city, in their own backyard. Those are just the ones that we know about. We've converted the film in a few languages, to support those screenings. So it's just been like unbelievable. And, we never had a thought that there was another film. I'm a
Say, okay, so
documentarian.
you have this film, it's a wildly successful, and you're like, okay, we're good. We've done our
We're good.
part, and it
We're
still
good.
has legs. That's the thing.
Yes.
The
Oh,
first
yeah.
one still has its own
Oh, yeah.
momentum, right? So
And
then,
totally,
how do you
totally.
get
And
to
now
two?
it's funny because people who have gone to a screening and have seen, before the pause are going, oh, there was one before this. I got to see that one too.
And you don't have to see the first one to see the second
No,
one
no.
to get the benefit. But it's nice if you go back and see the first one after you see the
Yes.
second one, if you haven't seen the first one, right?
Exactly. I would say that the difference is really the first film really just became that full awareness of like, this is a thing, we can solve it. There's great experts. You don't have to suffer through this, right? Like validating the experience that women were having but weren't talking about it, right?
Right.
This film actually drills in a little more deeper, and we pull in some lived experiences, right? So we have a teacher in the film, we have a firefighter in the film, we have a couple in the film, we have men in the film.
Okay, go.
So,
I want to talk about the men, but so
oh,
don't say
I
anything
love
about the men
them.
yet.
Oh my God, I love them.
They're so fun.
And then we knew there were some topics that we didn't talk about. So we're talking about that in this film. So we talk about bone health, we talk about heart health, we talk about cancer, because typically a woman who is perimenopausal and is undergoing some sort of cancer treatment typically is told, sorry, Charlie, you here's a fan kind of thing, right? And we just dropped the mic on her, and we don't need to do that. And so we wanted to make sure that we had several oncologists and another doctor who is an expert on treating women who have cancer, still being able to take hormone replacement therapy if that's what she
And I
chooses to
think
take. Right.
that is a huge moment in the film, because I know I've had friends who I've talked to about hormone therapy, and they said, I can't. My mom had breast cancer. I'm on that list. And I said, well, you have to make that decision, but there's actually more information. So
More information.
go deeper, and then
Yeah.
decide. So
Exactly. So that's what this film is about. So this film is kind of waking us up into knowing that we actually have to take care of ourselves during this time and not really suffer, because it's how we're going to see ourselves on the other side, meaning what our health conditions are going to start to look like on the other side, right? So you could go into perimenopause and no cardiovascular and nothing has been happening like that. And you come out on the other side and suddenly you have some kind of early cardiovascular signs, right? And there's real things that happen to our body, our arteries, our blood system, our cells, as our estrogen is decreasing. And we need to know that. We need to really understand that, estrogen is on every single cell receptor. And what does that mean when it decreases in our brain? What does that mean when it decreases around our heart? What does that mean when it decreases in the interiors of our bone, right? We need to know that, so we can make decisions.
Well, and when you're saying that, it makes me think that here's a perimenopause film. And so in social media talk, it hits different in peri, right?
Yeah.
So the way you and I sort of felt about these things and navigated through is different than women who are 40 and 38 and 44. It hits different. Those same kind of symptoms and experience, they feel it differently. And you really did a good job in the film of making it accessible. I know it feels a lot more perimenopausal, like young, the way it's shot, kind of going behind the scenes on that. It's shot in a different kind of point of view. Yeah.
It is. And that is because we had two editors who are mid-30s.
Yeah. That's
right?
interesting.
And it's sister and brother team. So we had a guy as one of the editors, and it wasn't intentional. Like we didn't say, "Oh, we need to have like younger editors edit this film," because I've done films on K through 12, right?
Yeah.
It was really, when you're looking, it's interesting. When I go and do a film, you have to see who's freaking available, right? Because this is just how the world works, right? Um, it's like you have your list and you have people you go, oh, if I do another film, I'd really like to work with them on this film. And sometimes you have people you want to work with in particular on a film. And so these were the young man. He works with us on. We do animations, so he works with us on our animation. So we already knew what his talent was. But his sister has worked on several documentaries that we really liked her eye on that. She's also an artist, so we
Mhm.
felt like she could bring a more artistic editorial look to the film, right?
Mhm. I felt it.
Um,
It
yeah,
was
yeah,
it's different. The other one was amazing in its own way and so appropriate. And then this one feels like, oh, okay, this one is for perimenopause. And you just see
yes.
the nuance that's a little bit different. And I remember seeing them at the screening, I want to say in New York. Were they in LA or New York? And I'm like, who is that, Denise? Like, who are those youngsters over there? And you're like, they're the editors.
That was in LA. That was in
LA.
LA. Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah. I
starts to
know.
blend together, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I mean, they look like they're in their 20s, but
right. Right. They're
yes.
phenomenal. I love
Yeah.
that. And filmmaking, is this your 14th documentary? Is that right?
So, yeah, this is the 14th documentary. And we already, we have two other films that are in various stages. One we're really excited about because we might be working with like a really super production company on this film. So really, 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 yes, really, really excited. We are still in like early negotiations, so I can't say who it is, but I'll come back and
You
sort
heard
of
it
say who it
here
is.
first,
You
that
heard it here
area.
first.
There's
Yes, and
something
it's a
exciting
documentary
happening.
on a person, and that person is up for an Oscar this Sunday.
Mm.
Yes.
Okay, we won't even get into Oscars because Oscars are a whole big thing for you.
I
And
know, I know, I know. Everything sort of kicks off Thursday. I've got this big thing that I'm going to where everybody who is, well, not everybody, but I would say the top 10 films that are nominated. There's a private event. Well, it's a private event, but a big private event that happens in Los Angeles where the directors and the producers talk about the film. So we show a clip, they show a clip, and then they talk about like, kind of what I just told you about the behind the scenes that you never know. Like nobody knew that we had these young editors, right?
yeah.
And so they sort of talk about that. Sometimes they talk about like the financing, like how they were started shooting and they didn't really have full financing, or they talk about, how long this story they've been trying to tell, that they've been working on, like 7 years or 8 years or 10 years, right? Sometimes we think stuff just, oh, yeah, that just popped out of nowhere. And not knowing a backstory of a film that took a long, long time, right?
Yeah.
One of those films was like Forrest Gump.
Mm.
It's iconic, right? But it took 10 years for that film to come to life because nobody got it. They're like,
That's the thing, right? Do people get it? Like, do they
yeah,
get a menopause film too?
yeah.
I mean,
No, they still don't get it.
yeah.
They still don't get it. It's fascinating because, you know, the film did so well. I just thought, oh, it's going to be easy to go and get a deal. And it wasn't, right? I mean,
Even though you had.
you name the streamer. I went to them, and I know like the head people who do these things.
Mhm.
And they were just they're not interested, right?
Is it
So
because the decision makers aren't? menopausal, or
No,
what is that?
one definitely was at the age, like she's probably 42 now, so she's there whether she's physically having symptoms, she's there from that age range, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you don't really, I mean, you really don't know. I mean, where we are in terms of documentaries is that for Hollywood now, they are looking for like either a celebrity to like be a part, like it's a celebrity story, like I'm Janet Jackson, I'm going to tell about like my little life, or I'm J Lo, or I'm the Bee Gees and the music side. You're like, this is, I'm Kanye West, so these are the kind of documentaries that we see getting done. That's one set, or documentaries where a celebrity is bringing it forward. The other side of documentaries that are happening is these sort of, I call it trauma porn. So there are these stories like I'll use it, Iran. I'm in Iran. Oh my God, this whole area just got blown up, or the Ukraine, this area got blown up, and I'm this family person, and we're trying to survive. That sort of trauma
Like a
wrenching.
deep hero's journey,
Yeah,
starting from the deepest abyss. Yeah.
the deepest abyss,
Hmm.
exactly.
Hmm.
That's where Hollywood is at the moment, right? So you come in with a film around a health issue, and you're not trying to sensationalize it. Like we're not trying to, follow a woman and all the tragic things that happen when she shows up to the doctor. We're not doing that kind of film. That's not creating, to me, awareness, and we're telling one person's journey, right?
Hmm.
So we wanted to do the film the way we wanted to do the film, and make sure that we were able to, have a broad enough conversation and put in all the various experts, so that, you got a little something of everything, and then you can take your learning the next step.
I think you guys did a brilliant job with that, because women, we know the 34 plus symptoms, 60 or whatever they really are. And we don't all experience them in the same way. Some
Yeah.
people have hot flashes, some people don't. Some
Yeah.
people can't sleep. Some people, well, everybody, no one can
Ready?
sleep.
Nobody
I
can
mean,
sleep.
no one can sleep. But heart disease or things like that. And so having, or breast cancer, surgical menopause from a hysterectomy, um, having those different experts, I think really helps women find somebody that they can connect to in the film,
Yeah.
and feel like, okay, I'm not alone. This is normal.
Yeah.
And so then they feel armed enough to be empowered to go and ask their doctor, or find a doctor if they can't find a doctor. So
Exactly. Exactly.
that's really
And then,
good.
it's interesting, before doing this film, the first one, I would say I was not like a fan of HRT. I
I
would not,
know.
I know, right? I
I
would
know.
not, discourage any woman from taking it.
Right.
But I think because I was able to solve so many of my issues naturally, and, I know that I have a particular kind of a naturopath in my back pocket.
A
So
very
I just
special one.
really, a
Yeah.
very special one that I just really felt like, hey, not everybody has to do this, but it's not true, really. And working on the film, I really learned that. And I think the first person who really challenged me on my thoughts was actually Dr. Malone,
I knew you were
right?
going to say Sharon Malone.
It was like,
She's the person I turn to, like, are you sure, Sharon, before I
yeah,
do this? Are
yeah,
you sure?
yeah,
She's like, yes,
yeah,
go.
yeah.
Check
And it
this,
was,
this.
yeah,
Right.
it was years ago. I mean, I won't say it was before I wanted to do the film, because I wanted to do this film 4 years before I did the film, right? I was like, I really want to do a film on menopause. And I really started like just lightly talking, in the industry about it. And, people's eyes were like, oh my God, are you talking about
No,
that?
no, no.
You
Plus,
know,
in
and
the
I was just
industry,
like,
they would have to
okay,
admit they're aging, and
yeah,
nobody in the
nobody
industry
wants
wants
to
to
admit
admit they're
in
aging.
Hollywood. Oh, come on, right? So, so I just was like, still like slowly kind of getting a pulse, along. working on the other films that we were working on, but always sort of knowing like, I really want to do this. I really want to do this. And I really wanted to be the first one, to be honest. And the reason I wanted to be the first one is that I knew that I wanted diverse voices in this film, right? And I know Hollywood. We are one and done, right? If it's not crime, you can do tons of crime. Right. But when it comes to stuff like this, it's one and done. And so I knew that that I wanted to have diverse voices. I wanted people to see diverse doctors. I wanted to bring in issues that impact, all groups that we find in America. And I just believed that that wasn't going to happen, in what it was that I was seeing. So there was, it was funny early on when we first got started, as we were beginning early shoots, there were, oh my God, I just heard, my partners would go, oh my God, I just heard there's somebody's working on a menopause film. And I kept having to say to them, do they have a distribution deal? Because we do. Our film is going on PBS. Do they know where that film is going? If not, that's going on YouTube, right? Right. And so, I mean, I kept having to calm them down and calm them down and calm them down. Like every time, someone would say, oh, I know so-and-so who's working on one. If the person's name wasn't Oprah Winfrey, okay, I didn't hear.
And the way she did it was totally different. So,
right. Yeah, she totally different. I mean, we used to, we beat her to the punch, though. So the person I was afraid of was Oprah, and Oprah did her first Oprah Daily live virtual. You had to pay to be a part of it,
right?
Event, and in that she said, I'm going to do a documentary, and I thought I would pass out.
Had you already started it, or were you? No,
we had
early. It was
it was early. We hadn't started, but we were on the path, right? We were on the path, and I went, oh my gosh, Oprah can do a documentary in a nanosecond, right? Like she could do the documentary as quick as we just did our documentary. The
second one was much faster.
The second one. She could do it just that fast and have it air. Like, I mean, we had the film finished, shot, finished, everything inside a year, but PBS needed time to put it on. But she could have shot it, did everything we did, and showed it in the year. Sure. So when I heard that, I was like, so I kept, people who I kind of know, Oprah, like, hey, is Oprah doing a film on, menopause?
That's the BTS, right?
Yeah, because I said, that's going to be the deal killer, right? So, and then I just didn't hear anything. And I was like, well, we'll just move forward with ours and do it. And, if she comes out with one, all right, it'd be different, different spin, even though she knows all the same ladies.
Sharon Malone,
and she didn't do it. I mean, we pretty much, for lack of a better word, we usurped her, right? We beat her to the punch. And she had to, she finally came out and did something. When I think about Oprah and when she was having her menopause problems, she was still in the height of her show. Mm-hmm. It was definitely before her show had ended. But she did not tackle this.
And it was also when the WHI study was still, because that's when hormone therapy was a big no, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Where could she turn? That's why she thought she was having heart palpitations,
Exactly.
There was nobody there to help her at all.
Yes, exactly. And I don't think she found out. I think her show, she had ended her show maybe by the time she found out what was really going on with her, right? That it was really perimenopause. But she still didn't have any conversation on menopause at all, which is interesting between her publication and her show that she had not tackled it. Now since she's done like tons and tons and tons of really good stuff.
Now she's on it, right?
Yeah,
we had the fun of being at her special.
Yes,
You
we
filmed
did.
the
It was
special.
fun. It was exciting. And someone got a photo with her. Not me.
I did. It's like one of my treasured menopause mementos. You never know where menopause is going to take you, Denise. I'm just saying, right?
No, you don't. I mean, so, one of the things that's exciting that we have done, I mean, so now we've moved from like this is a film to it's an ecosystem,
Mhm.
right? And so now we have done a tour with employers, meeting with employers around the country. We're doing a big virtual employer event on March 25th. Um, and I'll send you some information about it. You can send it to your folks.
Yeah.
We've created the menopause care directory.com because one of the things that happened last year was so many women would say, can you tell me a doctor in my area? And sometimes we could, and a lot of times we couldn't, but it didn't mean that there wasn't a doctor in their area.
Right.
So we, spent, I want to say 7 months developing this platform, and we're still evolving it. But if you're in the US and Canada, we have doctors that are on there. And then we verify doctors who actually provide us, certifications that they do know how to treat menopause women, as well as their certification that they are a real doctor. So,
That's
yes.
good.
And it could be doctors, it could be a nutritionist, it could be, PT folks,
How about
um,
nurse practitioners?
nurse practitioners. We have a lot of nurse practitioners in there. Mental health experts are in there as well. We're working to get dentists in there. I know the Delta Dental has a program when they're starting to educate their dentists. Now, dentists aren't going to be able to treat you for menopause, but when they look at your mouth, they see significant changes, they will be able to attribute that to your change.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember how I even got dental to be a part of that first film was I remember showing up to my dentist, my hygienist, and she's like, Denise, I'm not starting to see you're getting more bacteria. You know that happens when you start going into menopause. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. No, I didn't know. That's
Right. Who knew
right.
that? We barely
Who
knew
knew, who
anything
knew
else.
that?
Yeah.
And so that was the reason why we made sure that we covered that area because women needed to know. And, Delta Dental was the only organization that was doing this research specifically around, oral care and the connection with menopause.
It's huge.
So,
As Natasha
huge.
said, I'm excited about dentists learning more about Perry.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And mental health people learning more about because there was been so many people definitely on that first film where we had a lot of psychiatrists, psychologists, and other therapists would come and run over to me or Tamsin or Joe and go, "Oh my God, I never knew this." And started telling us stories about how they had patients where there really wasn't anything wrong in their life, but they were having these like mental health challenges, right? And they just, gave them the kind of drugs that they would know, antidepressants typically that they would normally prescribe, but they were confused that everything was going great in this woman's life, but she was having these mental challenges. So they were like, where do we get help? Where do we learn more about this so we can treat our patients more appropriately? And that's the big challenge, I think, for everyone in this space is how do we train the current practitioners and the pipeline of practitioners? So I mean medical students, because are not we're not training them right now. I could tell you that
Right.
because the curriculum hasn't changed, right?
Right. But
And
they
I
have to
think
make room for it, right? Something,
they
it's
have
kind
to
of
make
like
room
putting
for
your
it.
product on the shelf, which we're going to talk about in a second. Like something has to go off to make room for something new. And so,
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
mhm.
So for me, the conversations that I have with program directors at medical schools is not, you know, taking something off of the curriculum list and putting menopause on. it's about incorporating that through as a constant, right? So that as we're talking about women's health, just along the trajectory, that this is constantly being brought into that conversation, right? So, we'll see. I mean, it'd take, I don't know, Robert Kennedy Jr. to force people to do it. I mean, like he's trying to force the nutrition piece. But I'm not seeing that part of academics changing soon. But what we can do is change current practicing physicians and nurses and PAs. We can put the pressure as women,
Right.
and showing up, demanding better care, right? Showing up, knowing that we know we're in perimenopause and bringing our symptoms to them, and constantly until they make a decision that they're going to self-learn. That's what it's going to take,
That's
self-learning.
what's driving it now, that women who are reading all these great books that are out now, and going to the film, and then going to their doctor, and when their doctor goes, and you're like, no, here, I brought you all these books, and have you seen the M Factor? So
Right.
we're advocating for ourselves, and that's
Yeah.
why the films are so important, because they help women feel empowered to
Exactly.
take those steps, and it's making a book come to life, because we're all reading, we're all watching everybody on social. You see that film and like, okay, I can go, I can take all these books, talk to my doctor, and
Yeah.
get some help. Get
Yes.
some help.
Get some help so you can go on and thrive and do what you really want to do, right?
Right.
Whatever that is, right?
Get that dream, I always say, that's still stuck in you. You'll have the juice to do it.
Exactly.
So, Denise, I want to talk about two parts of the film, and then I want to talk about what's happening with your team.
Okay.
But one, in the perimenopause film, you went down the route of nutrition and supplements, which was not in the first film. And you and I are in that camp, because we built our products because we were looking for a non-pharmaceutical approach to calming down our bodies, lose weight, calm down the hot flashes, get your brain fog happening, sleep. Talking about your T's now. And so we went down that route. So why did you decide this time to include a really important segment on nutrition and supplements?
I wanted to do it in the first film, but my producing partners felt like that we should stick with evidence-based in the first film. And when we came to the second film, I was like, absolutely not. Lifestyle
because,
is.
I'm sorry, herbs and things have been studied for years. There is real evidence and
I mean,
clinical on
I
herbs.
always tell people that, drugs in the form in which we currently take them, and surgeries, are really phenomenons of the last 100 years. And most of the drugs, from an evidence standpoint, really are the last 45 years, right? So how have we lived for millions of years without those, right? We lived off of the plants, the herbs, right? The water, therapeutics, things that we knew to do with our bodies. And so I wanted to make sure that we don't forget that, in this modern, I want to take a pill real quick to solve everything, or injection to lose the weight, that we had, like this is very real. Not to mention, we now live in a society in which we have, killed pretty much all the topsoil. There's very few places where you could just plant something very easily, and is in the natural soil is rich with minerals, and that you don't have to add to it. So we have to supplement, right? We have to supplement for what we're missing in the nutrients that we're getting from our food. And if you're not even really eating real food, you really have to supplement, right? If you're living off of fast food for whatever is making you have to live off of that, right? I mean, sometimes I have to live off of fast food when I'm traveling. I have to do fast casual kinds of stuff. But you have to supplement. And so to not talk about that is, I don't know, a disservice.
It's a
I think to
disservice.
women.
I agree. But I agree, in the first film, we're still so early. We need to talk
So
about
early.
hormone therapy, and, make sure that women knew that was an option. But part two, perimenopause, I
Yeah.
think it was perfect timing. And
Yeah.
women, we go to supplements first because there's still what only 5% or so of women who are eligible for hormone therapy are actually using it. Isn't that
Yes.
right? So that's a
Yeah. Yeah.
95% gap of
Yeah.
women who are still
Yeah.
suffering and need
Yeah.
natural remedies to
Yeah.
help solve.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And even if it's just that you are trying to solve for just, organ systems and not even the symptoms associated with menopause, right? Like getting vitamin D or
Gut biome.
omegas
Right.
or, making sure you have enough B12 and B6 in your body, that you can get from foods. So those things you need to know. Like you need to know that kind of stuff. I mean,
Right.
I know, a few older people who are thriving. Like I think about my friends' parents, they have a big
Like my
garden.
parents. Yeah.
And like you're not right. If people saw your parents, they would not believe it. Like would not believe it,
Somebody,
right?
they were somewhere the other day and they had to show their ID, and the woman's like, no, I don't accept this. And I was like, what? My parents, they're in their, mid 80s. My dad's
Mid 80s,
87.
they are vibrant, highly independent. They're
Fiercely, I would say.
energetic and got hair on their head, and I mean all the things, right? Of sound
Because
mind.
they've always been of that food is medicine,
Yep.
nutrition, supplements,
Yeah.
fitness, their
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
lives, really.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It is a life thing. And I think, people struggle so much. I had a friend call me up who was like, okay, Dee, I'm doing this now. I'm on my plan. I've known her for 30 years and I've been hearing the same conversation for 30 years.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And I always say, like, you have made this like a thing, and it's
Mhm,
not. It's
mhm,
a way of living. And
mhm.
when you shift it to a way of living, it's no longer a thing that you even have a discussion about, right? You just know, like, this is
Like
what
a
I'm going to
diet
have.
versus a
This
way
is
of
right.
eating,
This is
the
what I'm
way
going to
you're
have in the
used to.
morning, right?
Yeah.
And blah 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 blah. And I'm not saying like you don't. I have an occasional donut. Like I like
Yeah.
sugar. I have Friday night drinks, right? I mean, I'm not, saying like I'm some perfect person, but I do recognize that one, I can't drink. I used to like have a drink 5 times a week. I can't do that. Oh my God, I'd be
Body's
done.
like,
Like
no, we don't do
you talk
that
about
anymore.
brain fog, right? So, you
Can't see.
recognize as you get older that the things that you could do when you were younger, you just can't do those. Or if you do them, they weigh on you so
Mhm,
much that eventually they lead to disease states, right?
mhm, mhm,
I have a friend who today found out she has some precancerous cells in her colon.
mm,
But you know what? She won't stop drinking her wine every night. She loves chicken wings. She eats it almost like 6 days a week and some other stuff. And she thinks the occasional salad that she has mitigates that. And it doesn't.
mhm,
It
mhm,
doesn't. And so, these are the things that start to happen to our bodies when we are too consistent with that kind of food,
mhm.
you know?
Okay, now everybody's getting to see the real Denise. Like this is
Right? I
she has
know, this is the real
very
me. This
specific
is the real
opinions.
me.
This is
This is
why we get along, right? Okay,
Yes, this is
one of many reasons.
this is like the real deal. This is the real deal.
Unfiltered. Ah, lifestyle matters. This woman runs every day. Okay,
All right.
lifestyle matters. Okay, Denise, quickly, my
Yeah.
favorite, my favorite part of the film are the men. I have to
Ah,
say. I have to
love
say, I
them.
can't wait for Dave to see it. We have a screening here in Berkeley, California on March 21st. So if you're in the Bay Area, come see it. And there's others in the Bay Area too, all around it. But I can't wait for Dave to see it, my dad to see it, my two sons, my 20 and my 30, sons to see it.
Yes, yes.
I thought the men's portion was so powerful. So
So
give us a
powerful.
quick how that happened and how that group came together. Anything you want to share about that without giving it away?
It really was one of our producers, Joe, who said, "Hey, I heard about this men's group that comes together and they had a conversation about menopause, right? So she must know someone who knows someone, right? And she says, and I said, "Oh, that's great." She says, "That fills the void, Denise. You keep saying we got to have men in the film. We got to have men in the film, right?" And because the first film, we have no males in the film.
Right.
And we really, really tried to find a male expert. And the one that we found, he was so arrogant. I just was like, absolutely not.
Yeah, no,
Those are the
that's not
kind
going
of
to work.
those are the kind of doctors women show up to, and they are intimidated by them, and they lose their will after a while with somebody who's that bombastic. And I've been in medical regulation, so I know those men. And so we really wanted to make sure we had men in. And so when we discovered these guys and reached out to them, I think it's like 2, 3, 5 of them. They might be a little bit of a bigger group, but it was the 5 that we have in the film. And they are just so, what I love is that they love their wives.
Right.
And that they knew something was going on, but they didn't know what it was. They knew something had changed about her, but they didn't know what it was. And, finally they find out what it is. Then they're like, "Oh my God, it's not me. It's not me," because they're thinking it's me. And they didn't know how to change the me, right? They didn't know, what am I supposed to do? Right.
And they didn't want to quit.
They didn't want to quit.
Right.
No, they love their wives. They do. And so I've met all the wives. They were in New York. Remember, we were at the.
I only met one of them. I met all the guys, but I only met one wife.
Oh, okay, no, I met all the wives. They're just as adorable as their husbands, and and so it was just really exciting to have that part. It was really hard because they have other good stuff that they say, and when you're doing a film, you have like 40 hours of content. You got to squeeze it down to an hour, so it makes it really, really hard because typically. We start off and we get to a 2-hour film. And then when we get to about like a 90-minute film, usually I call PBS back and say, "Hey,
can I have a little more time?
Can we do a 90-minute film?" No. Okay. We're back to editing the next 30 minutes out of the film that we believe we can't take anything else out. And it really gets really, really hard. You get down to your last 5 minutes. And so, when you see a film, a lot of decisions had to be made to what to keep in. And, we always have to keep focused on, what is it we're trying to achieve? What is it we're trying to really convey in this moment? And even though there's, more context to it, we're not able to add that in. We were hoping to get some funding to do actually like almost a 90-minute film that would just have appeared online, but we weren't successful.
Well, there's always the next film.
There's always the next one.
But does that mean there's 30 minutes worth of film that I could go over to your house and watch that we didn't see?
I have to see if we still have that link, because usually we just get rid of everything.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. But next film we are noodling on is, no one really talks about women and longevity. We talk about longevity, but it's mostly aligned with men, and it's mostly aligned around biohacking techniques, right?
That's what I find. I hear a lot of talk about it, but it's very biohacking.
It's very biohacking,
and you
right?
need an appliance to do it, and
what do you need? Dinero. Like all of the biohacking is extremely expensive. The peptides, the treatments, they're thousands of dollars, right? So it's only at the moment for wealthy people to engage in. But we know women live longer, so we have longevity, but we don't talk about ourselves in that way. Yeah. And so
you need to live better in that length.
Yeah, so I want to talk about women and longevity. And there was, I was at an event called The Edge of Science last November in New York. And at that event, there was did you go to that, Julie?
No, I wasn't there.
Okay. It was Lori went. It was, there was lots of research that are going on, all led mostly by women. And this one researcher got up and talked about how women have 3 chromosomes, 2X and 1Y. And 1X and a Y is active until we, leave the planet. But this other X lays dormant until midlife. And the minute that woman said that, I went, oh my God, like almost said it out loud, like, oh my God, that's our superpower. That's what
we
we
have an extra X
longer.
or double X.
Right? I was just like, that's it. This is it. Like, oh my God, right? And so definitely if we did it, I'd have this woman in and talking about her research, because I mean, obviously, as they discovered this, that it turns on. And when you think about women, we have the more stress than men, because we are always responsible for family. We're responsible for the immediate family and the extended family.
Mm-hmm.
And if we work, we work on top of that, right? So what do men do? They just work, right? And they don't necessarily bring in all the money anymore. Those days are not there. You might make more or same as, right? But you still have this whole extra thing you have to do.
Right.
And then then we have the undercurrent of just how we're treated as women in society, all society, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have this extra thing that weighs on her, and yet we still live longer by 7 years on average, right? So I was something like, that is it, this thing that ignites. So how do we make this chromosome that turns on, like how do we understand it to activate it more for ourselves and tap into it? How do we tap into this superpower that we actually have? So if we do another film, that's the only thing I'm interested in. I don't want to talk about postmenopause or anything like that, because this is part of postmenopause. Here's what I will say about
post anyway the second after you don't have a cycle, so it's like menopause is postmenopause. Really.
It's just I mean, but
women
there is a thing. I mean, I will not say that there's not something post, right? You and I are post.
Right.
We've been post for a while. And what I do see is kind of another thing that happens. And then I think you just get into aging, right? So I think there is definitely a post thing that happens that doesn't get addressed. Also, I feel like, we tell all these women who, whether you watch first film, even the second film, not to take, you can't, once you hit 60, you can't take your HRT stuff anymore because you're out of your 10-year window. So what am I supposed to do if I'm still having hot flashes? We know we still have the lack of sleep
of it.
Yeah, or we just want the benefits. So there is more to be done, and that's more research. There is more to be done for women as we go into sort of the next 10 years, right? Of our life, that, how do we live those 10 years still very vital and feeling good and not feeling tired, right? Because
can I just say the next 20 years, 60 to 80?
Oh yeah. No, I mean,
when I'm in my 70s, I'm still gonna be badass, Denise.
Oh no. I mean, you have your parents as an example, right?
I will share them with everyone. They can be everyone's example.
Yeah, they can be everyone's parents. Yes. Mm-hmm. Hi, Mom and Dad.
I know. My mom was like, "Oh, tell Denise I said hi."
I know.
Okay, Denise, before we go, let's talk products for a minute. Hot quality, MenoWell bars, BFF. What's happening? Because meanwhile, while you are an award-winning filmmaker, entrepreneur, sit on boards, write legislation.
Let's talk about legislation. Yes. Okay.
Oh, yeah, you didn't know.
So really quick. Okay, so in California, we have a piece of legislation, AB 1940. This legislation will enhance a current piece of legislation that already exists around, employer employee-employer relationship working. But this is to actually put in specific language about supporting perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause women. So we have that legislation. I want to say we have 7 co-sponsors. Those are other legislators who believed in it and signed on to the bill at the initial part of it being introduced. So to stay tuned to that, we're also working with a assembly member in New York who in April is putting forth a bill as well. So that is what's happening. We are no joke. This ends in this generation. No more suffering.
No more suffering. Okay. Fabulous.
Okay.
I've read
I had to do that. Okay.
I know. I said legislation.
Legislation.
Okay. In your spare time.
In my spare time, hot flash tea, brain fog tea, night sweat tea, happiness tea, and drum roll, we are going into Target.
Whoop, 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 whoop. So exciting. Yep. Okay, yep. Is Target coming along on menopause, or are you sneaking in another area?
I think we're sneaking in. So, it's interesting as I am going through all of the machinations, and you and I will have to talk offline. I have to tell you, retail is no joke. Yeah. I mean, like today I was sitting. So I was, so my buyer is so supportive of this, of this brand going into the store that I got put in a accelerator program that they only have 10 people once a year in this program. Right. And, so we're going through and learning all the stuff. I can't even imagine even people go into the store and not, get this training. But anyway, so we get this training. And so today was just like, all the financials, right? And I was like, wow, this is intense. And so the first thing I thought is, I cannot learn things new, right? I can learn some of this, but I can't learn all of this. It made me realize, like, you got to bring in the experts. Like, there's an expert on retail stuff like this who's worked with Target, who knows their whole systems, how it all works, And it just made me realize how important others are, and how for me to be successful in Target is going to mean that I got to wrap myself around people who are experts in this space, because I don't have the brain space to learn this level of information, right? And I need to know it.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. People and think this was just like one little piece.
Right. Yeah.
This was just one little piece.
Target, and they don't understand the complexity of
the complexity.
Retail. But it's a beautiful, when it happens, it's amazing.
And it's amazing.
And it's expensive, and you have to be prepared,
You do have to be.
They believe in you, Denise. They believe. That's why they're holding your hand through the whole process.
Yes, right? Yes. They're really, I tell you this, they're very, very excited about the teas going into Target. They feel like it's going to bring a new customer, which it is, not necessarily into the store, but over into, this category. Yeah. So really very, very excited. Everybody that I've worked with at Target is just so wonderful. And, I've worked with another retailer before. I did not have that experience at all. And so I'm really, really excited, and I'm going to stay fixated with Target for, a little while. I'm not going to try to go into, another retailer yet. I want to, sort of, get my chops and before, so that we are on shelf this year, next year, the year after next.
Right, because getting on is one thing, and staying on is
a whole another thing. Yeah. So really excited about. So the two teas that will be there are hot flash tea and brain fog tea.
Excellent. Although I think it's D. Cashton said she needs some night sweat tea.
Night sweat.
You can go on DeniseOnTeabotanics.com and get your night
yes,
sweat tea, or Amazon.
I'll send you some. Yes. Amazon. We have it. Yeah. So super, really super exciting. And this aligns with obviously who I am, as a natural remedy seeker myself, to have a natural product and to have it in a major retailer. I'm really, really excited about this journey.
I love it. Well,
Yeah.
and it's these products that brought Denise and I together, and a friend
Yeah.
who's a male
A
who
male.
a mutual friend, and he said, "Hey, you have a menopause product? Well, you should meet my friend who has a menopause product." And that was almost 5 years ago now, Denise.
I know, crazy. I know.
There you
And
go.
this is, this is a long haul journey. We talk about this. Our product came out in 2018, and it's just it's a long journey. But
We're
I
early.
think now the awareness and everything else, and people who are still wanting to solve naturally, there are always going to be those people,
That's right. And even
right?
if you are on hormone therapy, we need all the things all the nutrition supplements still need to be there. HRT does
Yeah,
not solve all the problems. It makes things better, but it's
yeah,
not everything. So you have to take a
exactly.
holistic approach.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, you could be on HRT and still get hot flashes.
Right. Thankfully, I passed that.
So,
But
I
brain
know.
fog, drinking
Every
the
once in
tea.
a while, though, I will get a hot flash, and but I can't. It's not instant that I know that that's a hot flash. I just go, I'm warm. Is everybody else warm? I might be on a plane going, is
Yeah,
anybody else about to
start
strip
taking
me
off
out?
all your
Right.
clothes.
But it's not the same way that it was before, right? Which led me into, co-creating Hot Flash Tea. It was just so severe. This is sort of like it will creep on you like, right? Very slow.
Right.
I don't bust out into sweats, but I
It's
will
the
just get warm.
post-menopause version.
It's the post menopause. So, I mean, there definitely is a conversation to be had around post. It's really important because, kind of like what I said, we dropped the bomb or dropped the mic on the cancer patients. We're dropping the mic on postmenopause women. So
Yeah,
we're dropping a ball on the women who, are being told, no, sorry, you missed your 10-year window on the HRT,
I
you
know.
know.
I know.
So there,
And
there is,
and and
there is
our peer
something.
group are mad as hell. They're mad.
Mad.
They
They're
are both
mad.
mad.
They're
So
mad. I mean, I would say the largest group seeking information around hormone replacement therapy are postmenopause women. In
hmm
our survey,
hmm
it's overwhelming. It almost
hmm
brings me to tears when I see that data.
hmm because we've suffered so long. That's why.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
Thanks to you and Tamsin and Joe, you've got your two films, M Factor and then M Factor 2, that are making a global impact in women's lives. So thank
Thank
you
you.
for all you do. Goodness
Thank you.
gracious. I still don't really think you sleep, but okay.
I do. Not very well, but I do sleep.
Well, there's a tea for that.
Yeah, there is a tea for that. Wait, I might
Okay.
scrape it.
Okay, look, here's all my props. Make sure you check out M Factor screening anywhere near you, and then it's going to be on PBS March 19th. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then go online, find your hot flash tea, fall in love, and then go buy it in Target in Mayish, right around there.
Yes. Mayish. Mid-May.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Here's my mom texting me, probably saying, I see you and Denise. No, she's not on Instagram. Okay. Denise, you're my fave. Mwah. Thank you for all you
Thank
do.
you. Thank
You
you. Thanks for
continue.
having me.
Okay. See you all
Okay.
around the M
Uh-huh.
Factor campus. Be well.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.